Yeah, guys, welcome back to Thick Boy Fight Club. I'm here today with Jason, the Kansas City Bandit High, UFC veteran, bare knuckle fighting championship fighter, good friend and former coach of mine. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Number one shout out is to Top Mutt Studios, Phallon, Dunn, the best producer in the world. Clinch Culture, Mo Mind, Kimura Wear, Bearded Bites, Blessed Edibles, Gas Dank, Just for Kicks, Major Pack out of Kansas City, and anybody else that I forgot, I will get you in next week. My restaurant shout-outs of the week. First, I'll do my Kansas City one. I did a barbecue one last week, so this one's Oklahoma Joe's. Anybody from Kansas City knows about Oklahoma Joe's, legendary spot in Kansas City, multiple locations. And my Toronto location is gonna be Lucky's Chicken and Waffles, spot right here in Lakeshore, Etobicoke, best food in the city. Jason, what's your restaurant shout of the week?
I'm gonna go with this new place. It's right down the street from the old ATTHD. It's called Oyama Ramen, something like that. Oyama, maybe. Ramen. It's a ramen spot. Best ramen in the city, in my opinion.
Yeah, it can't be too many ramen spots in Kansas City, so people will be able to find it.
And it's in Lenexa, which is kind of weird, right?
On the next side, yeah. The ends. So I was excited to get you on. You're one of the guys I wanted to definitely tap in with once we started doing the virtual thing. Like I said, Kansas City legend, been around forever, trained all over the world, fought all over the world. Like I said, UFC veteran, fought legends in Japan, now competing in bare knuckle fighting. So kind of give everybody your background, your kind of origin story of how you got into fighting, your wrestling background, and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I started wrestling in high school. I started wrestling when I was young, but wrestled high school and college, and then just kind of got out and was still looking to knock around a little bit, So one of my high school coaches was fighting, and a friend of mine, me and a friend of mine had taken last semester in college in Costa Rica, so we were doing some jiu-jitsu down there, and so that's where I actually started training jiu-jitsu, was down there with the guy. And we just kept training when we got back. We weren't really training formally. We just had there was three of us, and we had like two sets of gear. So we would just pretty much spar and rotate the gear through, And this was in Nebraska. And then I heard that one of my high school coaches was fighting. So I just on a throwaway, I was just like, let's see if they need another fighter. And the guy called me like a few weeks later. He's like, "Oh, you want to fight this weekend?" It was at the Beaumont Club. Remember that place?
Oh my, yes, of course,
yeah. So yeah, I drove down and fought that Saturday, and that was pretty much it, man. I started training regularly and just trying to get these workouts in, and then trying to book fights.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of all fighters from back then. It's like everyone got their fight like that weekend, or it was like the next day, and that seems to be a consistent theme of guys who started fighting by then. So I actually didn't know you'd started, because I was actually in Costa Rica recently. Were you in a spot in San Jose, or where were you training?
Yeah, I was training in San Jose under this guy named Mauro Sergio.
Mauro Sergio, he's a Brazilian or he's a Costa Rican?
Yeah, he's a Brazilian. Yeah, he's been down there for a long time. He's still down there. I'm not sure where he's at now, but
I want to say we met him because when we were there, we went to a facility in San Jose, and he's actually the one who linked us with Sidney Machado in Jaco, Costa Rica. So I actually had no idea that's where you started.
Yeah, he's a big surfer too, so he goes out to Jaco a lot, I know.
Yeah, so I'm almost positive. That's actually crazy. I never knew that's where you start. Yeah, I never knew that's where you started your jiu-jitsu. That's actually wild. Like, yeah, I'm planning on actually going back there soon.
There's a Canadian guy down there that's still down there, I think. His name's Ariel, I think.
Is he in Tamarindo?
He might be now. He's been with Mauro for, since I was down there.
So I want to say, I think I know what you're talking about, because Tamarindo is like a big surf town up there, and they have a jiu-jitsu facility. Yeah, we never actually got to go there because we were in San Jose, we were in Jaco. Jaco's obviously the main hub. They have those casinos, surfing. Sidney Machado's there with his jiu-jitsu. So I actually didn't know that. It's actually a crazy coincidence. So when you were wrestling in high school, was there no jiu-jitsu, or not high school, in college, were there no jiu-jitsu facilities in Nebraska at that time yet?
No, not really. This guy we worked out with, his name was Darren Brudigan. he worked out this place that it was like a judo place. This guy was he taught judo, you know. So he would let us work out there, and Darren was like the only guy I knew that was fighting. So, you know, we just worked out with him, me and my buddy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, man. We were just beating each other up, essentially. There wasn't much training going on, you know, like technique. Wasn't much technique.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of all like old school training. So like, you know, I had initially met you. Everyone had heard of you when I'd started fighting. Everyone knew who you were, LC Davis, obviously. But at that time, you guys were both living outside of Kansas City. So can you kind of talk about, you know, what your path was from starting fighting in the Midwest to, because I think you'd lived in California at one point, and I know you'd competed in Japan. Like, what was what started the kind of traveling around, moving around the world with this and really making this a career?
So I was living in Nebraska, and I probably had like 4 or 5 fights, you know, and I was just thinking like, you know, maybe trying to take it to another level, you know, and I was working as an EMT. So I was working as an EMT in Nebraska, and then I was just randomly like applying for jobs. I was thinking I was going to be a firefighter at that point. Like, so I was applying for all these jobs all around the country, like going out and taking tests. Like I went out to Virginia, I went to Denver, I went all over the place. And eventually I applied for this job in Huntington Beach, but it was just as an EMT. So I applied out there, got the job. And then I was like, man, if I move out there, I'm sure I could take my fighting. I could take it a little more seriously too, you know? So kind of knocked 2 out, you know? So I moved out there, started training with Antonio McKee and those guys, and stayed out there for a few years, and then moved back to KC. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, so I didn't know that's why you had moved out there. I knew you had trained with, because that's AJ McKee's father, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
so, you know, shout out to Magmo Green. He always talked about that. That's actually how I found out you guys had trained together. So what was the path of you actually coming back to Kansas City? Because I know you ended up did you ever actually live in Florida, or did you just do camps there for American Top Team?
No, I never lived there. But we moved back shortly after my first daughter was born, just because we wanted to be closer to family. My wife's family is in Springfield, Illinois. So that's, you know, Midwest, and we're out all the way out in California. It's just kind of hard to get the family back and forth, you know. So we moved back for that. And then I'm not sure how it worked out. I knew Mo from back in the day, Mo Lawal. I knew him just like from wrestling, you know, just from being around. And I can't even remember where I first met him, honestly. But he called me one day and asked me if I wanted to train with Pitbull, with Thiago Alves. And I was like, yeah, you know. And he's like, oh, they'll fly you down. We'll, you know, put you up, whatever. And so that's how that happened. I had moved back to Kansas City, and then, you know, he called me shortly after, and I flew out to train with Thiago for he was fighting Rick Story. And so I trained. I probably stayed like a month, 3 weeks, a month, something like that. And then I just started coming down there for my camps too, you know.
Yeah, that's funny how MMA is like the Black Wrestler Coalition. It's like we all seem to know each other. Everyone seems to, because I know a couple guys from our area, you know, Deron Wynn and Sean Bunch are actually out in California with DC, and it seems that's how most of us end up in MMA, is another like college black wrestler or something ends up tapping us, and that's kind of how it happens. So how did you and LC Davis at the time end up together, you know, opening? Because I know he wasn't necessarily full-time as much at American Top Team. How did you guys end up coming together in Kansas City for ATTHD?
Yeah, he was during this whole time that I was in California and all that, he was living in Iowa, up there with the Militich. He was up there, and I forget what the town's called up there.
Is it Cedar? It was Cedar Rapids or something?
Nah, it's.
I remember driving up there to train with like Neer and Smith, and I remember Jeremy Smith was like a roommate of his, and I think it was Cedar Rapids we went to. I was with like Rob Kimmons at the time.
Davenport. It's Davenport.
Davenport. Yes. Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
He was living up there, and he was just like, man, you know, he's like, there's only so long I can live here, basically. So he moved back, and then we just started training together initially. You know, we were just running around training together. We'd go out to Glory, and then we'd go box. We were kind of just piecing it together, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not sure how you know, actually he convinced me to open the gym. I really didn't want to open the gym. I really didn't want to do it. But he convinced me to open it, and he convinced me to, come in with him and open it, So yeah, but I've known LC for a long time too. Not really well, but like I've known of him since like probably since we were kids, man. Because we used, he wrestled around here, and he's from Kansas. I'm from Missouri, so we weren't like seeing each other every day, but like we would go across the state, and he's wrestling, I see him, he see me, that kind of thing. So yeah, I kind of always have been in each other's orbit, So yeah, that's how we hooked up.
Yeah, well, I can say I'm happy you guys did, because I remember after my amateur career, I had an injury and some other stuff that stopped me from fighting. And I've always said this, I give you credit for the reason I ended up going pro and coming back. Like, I remember we both used to work at Title Boxing. I remember every time I'd see you, like, when you coming back. So I always have given you and LC credit for getting me back into competing around that time. And I remember, a lot of special fighters came out of the gym. Everyone, we've talked about our guy, Jeff Molina, who I think will be Kansas City's first UFC champion. Him starting there as a youth, and so that's obviously something that I want to talk to you more about, because now you're competing in the bare knuckle fighting and still coaching. What's that transition like for still competing, being a coach, and then now watching? I think you met Jeff when he was 14 or something like that. You've been one of his integral coaches. What's that kind of journey been like? Kind of, you and Kraus are on the same path, and you guys are still competing. But what's it been like to kind of watch that growth? Because most guys can't really say they had a fighter start that young, make it to the level he's there, and you're still competing. What's that kind of relationship been like?
Yeah, I mean, it's Jeff's one of the guys that's he's pretty much, since I've been back to Kansas City, he's been running around with me, So yeah, man, it's been really cool to see him grow up and just kind of come into himself as a fighter, kind of develop his own style. And then now he's actually a really good teacher too. So it's kind of cool to watch.
Yeah, I remember he was always cerebral when it came to this stuff, for sure.
Yeah, and he likes teaching, and he relates well, like he speaks well, and is able to kind of translate the technique to regular people, which is something a lot of people can't do, So what was your original question?
Well, so I was just saying, what's it been like? Because, you're still competing yourself, and either one is hard to balance, but especially now you're in what I consider the more dangerous sport, which is the bare knuckle boxing. Like, what's it been like? It's hard to say. You tell me. Like, I've never actually, I've been in street fights, but really, so you would really,
man. Like, I got hit a couple times in that. I mean, I've only had one fight, and it wasn't like, it wasn't the most challenging fight I've ever had, So it's like,
you look unbothered. That looked like a sparring session for you. You didn't look bothered at all.
Yeah. So like, I mean, but the guy hit me once. I had a little cut under my eye, and he hit me once or twice, and I was like, that's it. Like it doesn't. The bare knuckle doesn't catch you the way a glove does. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't hold it under your skin. So it's hard to land. I feel like it's harder to land a clean shot. Now you're going to have like those lacerations and shit because the knuckles are scraping across your face. But that doesn't do brain damage, which is all I'm really worried about. I don't give a shit about a cut.
No, good point. I mean, they always say the gloves are to protect the person's hands more. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I mean, I was unbothered, like you said, by getting punched. I remember one time he punched me, and Mac was there. He said he could tell, but he punched me, and I kind of like I looked around, like I felt like I looked around, like is that it? You just, I mean, like I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, like, it's way different than getting hit with even a boxing glove, dude.
Good point.
There's a hole to your face. That shit is. It's different. It really is. So I think there's way less. It looks worse, but there's way less brain damage in bare knuckle, in my opinion.
So how did that actually come together? Because I mean, I've said it before. Like, obviously I haven't gotten to train with you a long time, but if looks are anything, like you still look in phenomenal shape with your background as a jiu-jitsu guy, wrestler. Like, how did the bare knuckle come together as opposed to continue? Because you seem to be still doing great in MMA. I know you had the FAC championship. You had that amazing comeback win. I think it was maybe a year ago. How did the bare knuckle thing come together for you?
Yeah, man, I just kind of, I actually went to one of their shows in like Biloxi, I think it was, Mississippi. This was probably like right before COVID, like 19 or something. And I was like, man, I think I would do this shit, just to check it out. I wanted to see what it was like, see real time. And so that's how I first first dipped my toes in. I just went down to one of their shows and then checked it out. And then they were coming to Omaha, and I just I told the management I might be interested, and they ran it up, and they got me an opponent. So, it was in Omaha. It's kind of like I was able to sell some tickets there and kind of have the old college crowd there. So it was cool, man. It was a good time.
Yeah, so I'm actually surprised at that, because I thought that maybe they had reached out to you because you were from Omaha and you're a well-known guy. So it was actually you who decided, like, I actually want to do this and made the steps towards fighting bare knuckle.
Well, it's kind of a little bit of both. Like I went down there for sure because I think I had made. Oh no, Sean Wheelock. Remember him? I don't know if you ever.
Sounds super familiar. Yeah. Why does that sound familiar?
He used to commentate for Bellator, and now he does commentary all over.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He actually put me on with them, like introduced me to the matchmaker and all that. And I just kind of expressed to Nate Shook, is the guy's name, the matchmaker, expressed to him that I'd be interested. And if they need someone in Omaha, because they originally were going to come to Wichita, and then COVID shut them down. So yeah, it just kind of came out. I told them I was interested, and they followed up, So, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do as far as we'll see how the MMA goes. Like, I'm not sure. We'll see, there's nothing that's piquing my interest right now.
So are you planning on doing both, or is it kind of like whatever comes, whatever best opportunity, you're just kind of in the gym training, and whatever comes to you, you're ready for?
Yeah, I'm really just, I've been coaching a lot with these guys at Glory, and that's keeping me pretty busy, man. So I will fight if there's something that's nice that comes along, but I don't necessarily need to go out and, I don't need to fight, but I definitely I can still fight, and I would like to while I can, but I don't necessarily need to. Like, I feel like when I was younger, like I had this itch, like this need to fight, and I like to fight and I want to fight, but I don't have that itch no more where I have to scratch that itch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry, there's like some fireworks outside. Sorry about that noise. So have you ever, because now I always at least known you as to be a more dominant grappler than anything. Submission grappling now has become way more popular with the flow grappling and all these tournaments. Have you ever thought about doing anything like that? Because with your background in not only wrestling and jiu-jitsu, obviously, I think you would do well in that. Is that something you've ever thought about doing as well?
Nah, I don't know. I like jiu-jitsu too, and I like rolling and going in and training, but unless I'm getting paid for it, I don't really I don't know. I'm not going to go pay my money and time to go grapple in a tournament. If I'm getting paid to do it, I will do it, but I love grappling, so I will go and train with the dudes grappling, like drive my car to the gym and do that. But I'm just not going to drive. I'm not going to fly across the country to spend my own money to enter a tournament. I don't know. That's just me right now. That could change in a year. Like if all the boys were going to Masters Worlds, hey, we're going on a trip to Masters Worlds, I would do that. But I don't need to go out, and I just don't. It doesn't get my war boner going.
Yeah. So how's the transition now, where you're mostly coaching been? Obviously I had a conversation with Mac a couple weeks ago about you and Kraus being under the same roof, what that must mean for young fighters, and Kansas City MMA as well. I can only imagine if you're an 18-year-old getting into the sport fresh out of high school, what it must be like to be able to come to a roof that has so many high-level fighters. And what's it been like being able to coach with Kraus, where you guys obviously know each other for a long time, both well respected, and now it's been going so well. What's that been like these last couple of years?
Yeah, man, I've really been having a lot of fun over there. I think we're doing some good work too. So it's been great, man. I mean, we got a excellent group, and everybody's on the same page, and me and Kraus work well together. We kind of have complementary styles. So, it's been great, man. I tell him, I joke with him, I'm like, the only regret is I wish we would have done it sooner,
I agree.
Yeah.
So kind of piggyback what we were talking about earlier, you said you would watch the fights last night. What was your opinion of the two main events and the decision? What was your opinion of those fights?
Start these motherfuckers early, bro. I'm falling asleep in the third, fourth round. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I'm barely making it through these fifth round heavyweight joint. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
Back to back too,
These
yeah.
two knockout artists, like, to make it rain, you know? We got nothing.
Yeah, both fights went the distance.
Hey,
remember, you're an hour behind, man.
I gotta watch this guy wrestle.
For us, it starts at 10 o'clock. So imagine what it's like for us. So, did you agree with the Moreno decision against Figueiredo?
I thought Figueiredo won it. Like, yeah. I mean, it's a hard fight to judge, but like before they announced it, I was like, I think Figueiredo got it. You know?
Yeah. So how do you think that has to do with, because we were talking about the fight last night, and obviously I think Moreno had a more confident view, but it looked like the game plan from Figueiredo was just so much more solid. It looked like going to Henry Cejudo. Like, I don't think there was a round where he didn't attempt at least 3 takedowns, and Moreno just seemed to be more happy with standing up and not taking advantage of. I think he's maybe the better grappler from the submission he had, the one takedown he went for. What do you, like, as a coach now, do you look at that fight and say, maybe it was just bad game plan? Because he seemed very confident the whole fight and didn't seem very interested in going to where he finished the guy was the ground. Like, you as a coach, would you have maybe given him different advice going into those championship rounds? Because I would have told him to go for the takedown immediately if I just submitted a guy the fight before.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, if you submit a guy like that, you expect to see maybe at least, pretend to go back to it, But like, I've been noticing recently that it seems like a lot of these matches like kind of turn into kickboxing fights. Guys just totally forget about the grappling and even the threat of grappling. Like, I don't know. We tell the guys, primarily the striker guys that like you got to kind of set expectations early, So if Moreno would have came out and maybe went after a couple takedowns, then that will open up the stand up a little bit. I think if he wants to stand up, but. So yeah, I like to see people mix it up, especially at those lower weight classes where so much of a premium on activity, It's like you got to have a diverse game, You really rarely see people winning at that weight class, at those lower weight classes with just like one skill set, and that's what you just mentioned. Like Figueiredo kind of opened his game up, was doing a lot of level changes, and you could see that really bothered Moreno. It had him guessing, and that's what it's about, man. I don't want any of our guys to just stand in front of and kickbox with somebody, So,
well, yeah, what's funny is both the guys who won were the underdogs, but I think for Moreno to win by submission, it was like a minus, but it was plus 1,200 for Ngannou to win a decision, and you could have never convinced me that between those two fights, he's the guy who would have went into his wrestling wheel and out-wrestled Gane, and that Moreno would have been the one who, he got dropped 3 times and still did not seem interested in taking the fight to where he won it last time. And so, I was talking to guys last night. I saw Usman in his corner. I saw Henry Cejudo in Figueiredo's corner. Wrestling is king. I said, like, I don't think it's a coincidence that Ngannou's game developed to where it did, because I now heard that he had a knee issue. And so, as a coach, it's kind of crazy because you start off as a wrestler. What is your opinion about Figueiredo going down there to that camp and, the influence of Henry Cejudo? Like, how big of it do you think that was in his success last night?
Yeah, I honestly didn't even know that. I didn't know about all the beats that they had, like in the drama, all that stuff. So I did hear that he was training with Cejudo, and like anytime you get hands on a guy like that, especially in that situation where he was like, he's basically the champion of the weight class, and then he dipped out, So it's like, yeah, dude, I mean, it's definitely an advantage to be able to train with him for sure. And he's got a skill set that Figueiredo kind of needs work on too. So it's like kind of a double whammy, So yeah, anytime you see a dude making changes like that and getting real looks in his training, you can start to wonder about whether he's going to look better, for sure.
Yeah. So do you think they run back the rematch, or do you think they give it to the kid out of Australia, the guy who just beat Cody Nova? Do you think they run the rematch? Like, is that something you'd be interested?
Who's the kid out of Australia?
He's the one who just knocked out Cody No Love. Kayakera. I'm probably butchering the kid's name. There you go. You know.
No, I don't know if he's ready for a title shot yet. But damn, I mean, they gave Figueiredo such a quick rematch. You know, like immediate rematch. So I mean, the first fight was a draw. So you're really, if we're doing best out of 3, if the first fight's a draw, it turns into best out of 5, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this would be the real rubber match, right?
Right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense to do it again for sure. To settle it for once and all, you know, let's do it.
Yeah,
I think so. It was a great fight. It was a good fight, you know. It wasn't like it was a snoozer.
Well, yeah, I mean, those fights are all exciting, but like, dude, like I said, watching that fight, you know, I think about a guy like Jeff, who, you know, we talking about a guy who at that weight class you don't see guys finish as much. You know, I looked at that fight and said, man, you know, you would know better about, you know, how Jeff is growing to his body, but I really think Jeff could get with these guys sooner than later. And, you know, seeing how a guy like Moreno, who was not a prospect, didn't win the Ultimate Fighter, got cut, to see him come back, man, it's like, like I said, I really do believe you guys will have a champion out of Kansas City very soon in him. So for you, in terms of what's coming in the next year, what fights are you looking forward to in the UFC? Is there any fights that you're kind of interested that you want to see? Is there anybody you're looking at? Like, what's your opinion on Khamzat and these guys? I
think the one that pops into my mind first is just a grudge match, because everybody likes a grudge match. Is Colby and Masvidal. That'll be fun. You know, that's the first one that pops into my mind. No, I can't off the top of my head. Shit. Yeah, I don't know.
How do you think that fight plays out?
I'm hoping Masvidal can beat him, but it's a tough fight. It's a tough matchup for George. You know, so
with the wrestling.
Yeah, Colby runs his mouth, but he's a good fighter. You know, but. He honestly, he didn't look as good as he has, I thought, you know. So we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out.
What's your opinion on Khamzat and potentially fighting Gilbert Burns?
Khamzat Chimaev, I like that. He needs a real opponent, a ranked, not a real opponent, but like a ranked, you know, highly ranked guy.
How do you think that plays out?
I don't know. I'm hoping it goes later though, so we can see what Chimaev looks like late. You know, maybe like second half of the fight. Because I don't know. I guess Gilbert Burns kind of slows down too, so it may not be a great matchup for him. I think I'm Chimaev. I think Chimaev's on the way up, and Gilbert is kind of plateauing and on the other side of the hill.
That's actually interesting to hear you say that, because you know, I know with your jiu-jitsu background, like I've said it before, I'm a big Khamzat fan, but I've said we can't really crown him until we see him against a guy who has the ability to choke him, at least with a good high level black belt. I love the way he fights, but you know, we've seen his head deep in positions where a guy with a good guillotine might expose him. So I'm actually very surprised that you took that take, because I know Gilbert to me is still one of the best pure jiu-jitsu guys in MMA. He can obviously strike, like.
Yeah, he's legit for sure. You know, we'll see. I hope it gets signed. I'd like to see. I want to see Chimaev versus a top 10 welterweight.
Do you think he gets Usman this year? So do you think we will see Khamzat against Usman at some point in 2022?
How many wins does Khamzat need before he gets Usman? I guess win over Gilbert, and then one more win. I think he needs one more win before he gets Usman.
Yeah, what I'm kind of hoping, because to your point, the Colby thing, I'm gonna be cheering for him as well. But fight. That's my point. I was thinking that, right? Like a lot of people are talking about two good grapplers in a row. So if let's say he beats Gilbert Burns, if Colby wins a big fight against Masvidal, I would love to see that be because you know, how many times are you gonna let Colby fight Usman? But if Chimaev is able to beat both of them, I think that'd be the fight that would get him a title shot. And so so how do you think that plays out, Usman versus Chimaev?
I'm going with Usman. I don't really think. I think he's going to be the guy to beat for a long time.
I agree.
So I don't. Chimaev's cool, but I don't know. He ain't really seen nobody like Usman. I don't think. You know, I will eat my shorts if he goes in there and lifts Usman off his feet.
That will be crazy, because I think he actually has a better shot beating Izzy because of the wrestling. I think Usman would be a much personal opinion.
Yeah.
A lot of people think I'm crazy.
Chubbs for sure. Even though Chimaev's not all that big, you know, I think even Izzy might beat him though. I don't know.
I think he could too. Izzy's a
hard time getting inside on it.
Yeah, I think Izzy's a freak of nature, one of the top guys.
I think you're right though. That is a better matchup for him though. You know.
So before we wrap up, where can people reach out to? Where can people find you? What do you if you have anything coming up? Whether it's as a coach, a fighter, this is kind of yourself time to plug yourself, the gym. Like what can people be looking for from you guys in Glory?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at what is my Highwalker MMA?
Jason Highwalker, I think it is. Yeah,
Jason Highwalker. Yeah.
We'll get to. Don't worry, we'll have her put it up on there for you.
Yeah, I'm training. I guess we got Jason Witt coming up February 5th. So that's the next.
Oh, he's fighting. Yeah, next week. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fighting. He's fighting the Fresh Prince. What's his dude's name?
Fresh Prince.
God damn it. Tall dude.
I'm trying to think. At 170, right?
Philly Fresh.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. He's been doing the grappling with Gordon Ryan. I know exactly what you're talking. Yeah, Philip Rowe, I think it is.
Philip Rowe. There you go.
Yeah, Philip Rowe. And then Kansas City has the Dana White coming to the looking for a fight. I saw the Nelk Boys thing. Are you? How many guys?
Boys are though, bro. Who is that though?
There's just like a really popular group of guys that like drink and party and they become super famous on YouTube and Instagram, and it's actually a very big deal that they said they're actually going to sponsor whoever one of the fighters. So that's actually a huge deal for you guys that's the show they decided to come to. It was actually, when I saw that, I was that's going to be a big deal for Kansas City, FAC. It's actually a huge deal that and I think Dana knows the level of fighters we have out of there, which is why he tapped him in to go to that. So that's going to be huge for you guys, even if you don't know who they are. Like, ask Wooster. His son knows about these guys.
Yeah, I heard they're big on the YouTubes, you know. So I don't know.
on the YouTubes.
You know I'm over 40. That's how I got to say it, bro.
Bro, you don't look it. I've had to...
On the YouTubes. You know?
Yeah, I sometimes forget about it, man. You're still a beast, bro. Like I said, watching the last couple fights, you would never, even hearing you say I'm older than 40, it's like, it's crazy to think because of what you've been doing. Well, like I said, man, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, this is, like I said, one of the absolute legends where I'm from. A big reason I ended up going pro. He's doing amazing things in Kansas City with James Krause and these guys. I'm sure he'll be coaching somebody on that. I think it's Dana White looking for a fight. FAC is the...
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and so like I said, Jason, thank you so much for coming on. It's good talking to you, good seeing you, tapping in. Happy to see the way things are playing out for you guys. And, like I said, super awesome to see you do the bare knuckle thing. I never would have thought you would do it. So to see you go in there, get a win, and be this cool about it, it's awesome to see, man. So I'm super happy for you, brother.
I got to make it up there when they let us up there again.
Yeah. When things change up here, Lord willing. Lord willing, man. We'd love to have you, man. Get you in here for a seminar or something, brother.
For sure. Anytime.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Well, guys, like I said, this is my guy, Jason the Kansas City Bandit High. I'm Tyson the Beast, and we're Thicc Boy Fight Club.
Yeah.